Hello, I'm Maddie Salamone, and I played lacrosse in college, and I represented the ACC on the Division I Student Athlete Advisory Committee, and later chaired the committee while I was in college. We're here to talk about mental health, and I think that is one of the biggest issues and has been for a long time in college sports and in the world in many respects, but particularly in college sports. I think where you have this just immense pressure cooker all the time of wanting to achieve at the highest levels in your sport and also in the classroom. And when I look back at my time in college, I thought that I was supporting my mental health fairly well. Do I think there was room for improvement? Yes. But in looking back, I realized that I really wasn't supporting my mental health at all. I was just choking down feelings and trying my best to put on a good face in the face of a lot of really major things that I think a lot of people in college deal with. When I was an athlete, I struggled with a lot of injuries. And with that came a long recovery period. It came, time away from your sport. And I think at the time, I and many others were going through grief stages that really we weren't dealing with, because there's this prevailing notion in sports that, in order to be a good teammate, you need to put the team first. And that's a great mindset to have, except when you're really dealing with something. And instead of addressing it or admitting that there's, an issue, you try to put on a good face for the team, and you do everything that you can to be positive. And sometimes that takes more effort than anything else, to just put a smile on your face when you are dying inside. And that's a major thing I think that needs to be addressed in college sports, is that, especially on my team, our mantra was fake it till you make it. And that's all well and good if you're pushing through, in a sprinting drill and, nobody's having fun, but you push through and you pretend it's not that bad until you're done, and then you're done. But when you're dealing with something as serious as a depression, or, going through grief, or any of the other things that go on in college, eating disorders, anxiety issues, things that really extend far beyond the field and aren't always related to just the sport. And I think that is lost on a lot of people when they're addressing athletes, and especially coaches have a tendency to kind of push back and tell athletes not to be selfish and not to put their needs ahead of the team. But the thing is that if someone is struggling so greatly that they can barely get through the day, and going to practice and trying to be there for their teammates, or going through a game is taking that much out of them, then they're never addressing the really deeper issues, and that can create a lot of problems later. And I think a lot of problems that people need to deal with when it's all said and done. And I was certainly in that boat. I thought that I was talking things out, and I thought that I was rationalizing what was going on, and it's okay. And I think this is the biggest piece of advice I could give to current athletes, is that it's okay to really feel what you're feeling. If you're having a hard time, if there's something going on at home, if you have an injury, especially, those are major things. You're dealing with the loss of your sport. You're dealing with a lot of pressure and stress that you put on yourself to get back. And there's always this fear that you're never going to get back to where you wanted to be, or where you were before, performance wise. Will the coach ever give me a chance again? And all of those things go through your mind. And then on top of it, you're expected to be this perfect teammate in every other way. And that can be really tough, because sometimes you just need to be able to acknowledge that you're having a rough time, and you're, in a bad place, and that you miss your sport. And it's okay. Sometimes it's okay, to have those feelings and to acknowledge them. And there shouldn't be this stigma that it's this selfish thing. It should really go without saying that, if someone's not able to play because of an injury, or really any reason, sports are something that obviously this athlete cared about long before coming to college, and, you get there and it's stripped away. That's a major thing to deal with, whether it's related to an injury or simply that they're not playing. Those are some major issues. And rather than looking at it all the time as being this selfish thing, and certainly there are life lessons to learn from adversity, but those are issues that need to be addressed. And it can't be that, the response from coaches and support staff is just to say, be a better teammate. It's not that simple. And especially when there are other things going on. So, mental health is one of those things that if you're really struggling with something, talking things out can be so powerful, and there's so much strength in admitting that you need a little extra support rather than trying to stick it out on your own and acting like, having those feelings as some sort of weakness. It isn't. And the power in it is that once you kind of work through those feelings, you get through them, and you realize, all right, now it's time to stand back up and power through. And I think, that's something that's so applicable for what's going on right now. Obviously the world is in sort of an unprecedented state of affairs. And, college sports has been hit very hard. Every industry, I think, has been hit fairly hard. It's very difficult right now. A lot of athletes, all athletes really, at every level across the country right now, are dealing with the loss of their sport. And that's something that's not talked about enough, but it's something that inevitably every athlete at some point in their career deals with, this grief process that is losing their sport. And it is, it's in many respects losing your first love and the thing that you're so passionate about. And right now, for athletes not to have that outlet, and for their seasons to have been cut short, and all the hard work that they put into everything that's going on, that's something that really needs a hard look right now. And especially, if you know someone who is an athlete, if you are one yourself, like, it's okay to acknowledge that, right now is there are a lot of emotions going on, and everybody's experiencing them, and the best way to get through it is to process them. And processing them means identifying them in the first place. And so, my biggest piece of advice right now is to let yourself feel, the fact that there's a lot of uncertainty. Colleges are starting to look at, cutting sports, and we don't know what it's going to look like when this is all over. It's okay to go through that. And at the end of the day, though, when you're ready, pick yourself back up, and you'll always have this to go look back on and say, I made it through this. I can do anything, and you can take strength from that. But bottling it all up, doesn't help. So my biggest piece of advice is, it's okay to show that little bit of vulnerability, to say, I need some help. And we need to do a better job, coaches, sports staff especially, of looking out for that and identifying and destigmatizing sort of this mental health field, and getting athletes the support they need beyond saying, beyond just looking at the sport aspect and the team aspect, but, looking holistically at the whole person. And, always athletes, you are in the best, position to help yourself too. And really process things and be able to identify what's really going on. But that takes some introspection, but it's important. So that's my 2 cents. My thoughts and prayers are going out to everybody right now, as we kind of all deal with what's going on, and, stay safe, stay healthy, and, we'll see you all on the other side. All right.